very much. It is great to be here, and what an awesome crowd. I had no idea how many folks would be here. I knew it was sold out, but I mean, what an awesome crowd. And I tell you, Howard County, we all know, is a great place to live. And I've heard about the TED Talks and things like that. I had never heard about Ignite until I got the invitation to this place. And it's pretty awesome to think about the idea of how we're going to generate ideas, how we're going to generate passion in our community. We have a tremendous community. We have folks that are intertwined through the nonprofits, which you mentioned, through small businesses, through everything we do. And so it's very, very exciting to be here. I want to congratulate the EDA for doing this and for putting this together, and also, of course, the folks at Jailbreak. But I also want to tell you, so what am I passionate about? Well, let me tell you. Howard County has a tremendous history of civil rights, and a lot of people don't remember it. And so I'm passionate about making sure people don't forget about what those who came before us have done. And so that's what I want to talk about tonight. That gentleman there, his name is Robert Kittleman. He was my father. He was a delegate and a senator. He was a great civil rights pioneer in Howard County. He moved here in the 1950s, and he wanted to get involved. And so he met some folks, and he wanted to get involved in civil rights issues. He actually ran for the county council in 1978 and lost, but in 1982 he won as a delegate and served for 22 years in the Maryland General Assembly, ending as a state senator. He actually was the first Republican elected to the Maryland General Assembly from Howard County in 61 years. But he was a tremendous role model for me because when he came here in the 1950s, he met Leola and Remus Dorsey, the first two African Americans he ever shook their hands. And he said to them, I'd like to get involved in the Republican Party because they were leaders in the Republican Party. And they said, we'd like you to get involved in civil rights. He said, okay, and a relationship of 40 years developed, and my dad focused on bringing equal access to all children in Howard County. He became the education chair for the NAACP. He actually became the first white person in Howard County history to join the Howard County NAACP, and also was the only person to be the president of that organization. He always told me it was a great triumvirate that brought civil rights to Howard County. It was Silas Craft, Morris Woodson, L. Hart Fleury. Those three gentlemen, along with others, were the reason we developed into a county that cared about equal rights as opposed to segregation with my dad when he moved here in the 1950s. Silas Craft, my dad's mentor. He was the principal of Cooksville High School at the time, later of Harriet Tubman High School. But he also was the president of NAACP when my dad was the education chair. And together they went and lobbied the Board of Education to try to bring desegregation to Howard County. L. Hart Fleury, frankly a member of our family. His wife Virgie took care of me when I was a little boy. My dad was divorced, he was a single father. Virgie took care of me. L. Hart used to come to our house every day, and people in our neighborhood and all of you would say, why do you have so many black people at your house? And I'd say, because they're our friends. L. Hart was the last principal of Harriet Tubman High School. And when he stopped being principal in 1965, they made him a vice principal at Clarksville Middle School. And they went to court. My dad helped him, and they went to court, and they won, and he became a principal and got back pay. These are just some examples of the letters my dad wrote. One is from December 7th of 1963, from January of 1964. He would go to the school board meetings. He would write to the school board. He would talk about how crazy it was that we were basically busing children away from their communities to go to an all-black school. He used to tell stories about John Yingling. I won't say those stories in front of the public. But my dad was very, very frustrated by what John Yingling would tell my father why African Americans couldn't be in the same classroom with white children. And then 50 years ago, folks, 50 years ago this year, Howard County desegregated their public schools. Hard to believe, folks, that the current county we live in just 50 years ago was different. Reverend John Holland, you might know his name if you go to the Community Action Council's annual dinner, the Holland Dinner. Not too many people know who he was. He was a tremendous individual, another leader in the African American community and civil rights. He also was the very first African American to run for countywide office. He ran for the county council in 1968 as a Republican. And Reverend Doug Sands. Doug Sands was his campaign manager, a very close friend of my father's. My father and Doug Sands basically ran Reverend John Holland's campaign. Reverend John Lunn, to talk about transferring, and this is when I was in a Senate here, he came to visit, but he was my teacher at Alton High School. When I was a sophomore, he encouraged me to take black history. I did. I was the only white person in the class. And I tell you, it's a great experience. I learned a great deal from John Lunn. Recently, I got a chance to go and continuing to preserve the history of Silas Craft. Howard Community College has a Silas Craft Collegian program. I was able to go this year and to celebrate Silas Craft's life and all the young people who are proceeding and doing so. And there's his wife. Dorothea Kraft, who is still with us, fortunately, in her 90s. She has attended every Silas Kraft dinner that they've had. A tremendous role model for me, and another person I feel like is part of my family. And so every time I get a chance to see her, just brightens up my day. And we now have a new person. Now, Dr. Barbara Sands, Reverend Sands' wife, is our new Human Rights Administrator in Howard County. She has a strong belief in civil rights and human rights, and she's going to do a great job leading our county in that area. And we also have young people being involved. The Alpha Achievers at Reservoir High School, also After Achiever program in all the different high schools. Tremendous program for young African-American men, showing what great leaders they are in the community, and I had an opportunity to go there this year. But you know what? The struggle has not finished. We're continuing to work. The challenges ahead. Marriage equality. Now, my father worked on civil rights for African Americans. I had an opportunity to work on marriage equality in the legislature, being the first and only Republican in 2011 to vote for that. And then to continue to sponsor the bill in 2012. That's my 5 minutes. Let's keep up the struggle for civil rights. Thank you very much.